8 ways Stoicism helps you let go of toxic people. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely drained, like your energy has just been siphoned away? Do certain people in your life leave you feeling manipulated, small, and emotionally exhausted? That feeling of powerlessness is a heavy weight to carry. You try to set boundaries, but they're always being crossed. You want peace, but you keep getting pulled back into their vortex of drama and negativity. It's a cycle that can feel impossible to break, making you question your own worth and your sanity. You might even start to believe that this is just how things have to be, that you're stuck carrying the weight of their toxicity. But what if I told you there's a 20-year-old philosophy with the exact mental tools to shatter this cycle? What if the key to your freedom wasn't about changing them, but about fundamentally changing your relationship with your own mind? Ancient Stoic wisdom offers a powerful, practical framework for reclaiming your inner peace, and finally, once and for all, letting go of toxic people. This isn't just about coping, it's about learning to thrive, unburdened and in control. Let's explore 8 Stoic strategies that can help you do just that. Recognize what you can control, the dichotomy of control. The first and most foundational principle of Stoicism is something called the dichotomy of control. It's a simple idea, but once it clicks, it can change everything. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave and became a legendary teacher, put it perfectly. He said, "Some things are in our control and others not. The things we control are our own opinions, desires, and actions. The things we don't control, our body, property, reputation, and basically everything that isn't our own action." So, how does this apply when you're dealing with a toxic person? You can't control what they say. You can't control their moods, their accusations, or their passive-aggressive jabs. You'll never be able to control how they see you, the gossip they spread, or their attempts to manipulate a situation. Trying to control any of that is like trying to command the ocean tides. It's a recipe for frustration and heartbreak. It's a battle you can never win because it's being fought on their turf. A toxic person's behavior is a reflection of their own inner chaos, their own insecurities, and their own problems. Those are their actions. Your suffering starts the moment you believe you have the power or the responsibility to change them. Stoicism teaches us to draw a hard line in the sand. On one side is their stuff, their words, their actions, their feelings. On the other side is what's yours, your thoughts, your judgments, and how you choose to respond. Imagine a co-worker who constantly criticizes your work in meetings to undermine you. The old you might spend days spinning out. Why did they say that? How can I prove them wrong? What can I do to get them to stop? That line of thinking is a one-way ticket to exhaustion because it's focused entirely on things you can't control. The Stoic approach is completely different. You acknowledge the comment happened, but you immediately file it away. That comment is external. It's not my action. It is not in my control. Your focus then pivots inward. What is in my control? My interpretation of the comment. My choice not to get emotionally hijacked. My decision to stay calm and professional, to address the substance of the critique logically, if it's valid, or to just let it go if it's empty antagonism. My commitment to keep doing great work. This isn't about being passive. It's an active reallocation of your most precious resource, your energy. By focusing only on your domain, your mind and your actions, you stop pouring fuel on the toxic fire. You let go of the exhausting fantasy that you can fix them. As the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This strength is the foundation for everything else. Letting go of a toxic person starts by letting go of the need to control them. Set and maintain boundaries, the inner citadel. Once you've truly accepted what you can and can't control, the next step is to build fortifications around what's yours. The Stoics called this protected inner self, your inner citadel. Your mind, your values, your peace, this is your fortress. And a fortress is useless without walls. In relationships, we call these walls boundaries. Toxic people are masters at crossing boundaries. They do it subtly with guilt trips and manipulation, or overtly with demands and disrespect. They love the grey areas where they can push and take without consequence. This is where Stoicism gives you the backbone, not just to set boundaries, but to actually hold them with a calm resolve. Setting a boundary is an act of self-respect. It isn't an angry outburst. It's a quiet, firm, rational decision about what you will and will not allow in your life. As the philosopher Seneca said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Every moment you spend arguing with or recovering from a toxic individual is a moment of your one precious life that's gone for good. Boundaries are the tools you use to stop the waste. Let's say you have a family member who constantly makes negative comments about your life choices. For years, you might have just taken it, argued back, or tried to justify yourself, getting nowhere. The Stoic approach is to define a new boundary. You decide, calmly, that you will no longer participate in conversations that are disrespectful. Then, you communicate it simply. No big dramatic speech needed. You might say, "I love you, but I'm not going to discuss my career with you anymore. If it comes up, I'm going to change the subject or end the conversation." Notice the focus is on your action. You aren't demanding they change. You're stating what you will do. A boundary says, if you do X, I will protect myself by doing Y. The real test comes when they challenge it, and they will. They'll bring up your career again, maybe as a joke or out of concern. This is your moment for Stoic discipline. You don't get angry. You don't get flustered. You just execute the plan. You say calmly, like I said, I'm not discussing this, and then pivot to a new topic. If they push again, you follow through. It was really good talking, but I have to go now. And you leave. Each time you do this, you reinforce the walls of your inner citadel. You teach them, through your actions, where your limits are. More importantly, you prove to yourself that your peace of mind is non-negotiable. You're no longer waiting for them to change. You're relying on your own discipline to protect yourself. Practice emotional resilience, the unshakable mountain. Interacting with toxic people is designed to throw you off balance. Their goal, conscious or not, is to get a reaction. They feed on your anger, your distress, your drama. Your emotional response is their victory. Stoicism offers a powerful countermove, cultivating emotional resilience, the ability to stay internally stable even when an external storm is raging. Think of your mind as a mountain. The weather around it is always changing. Some days are sunny, but other days bring violent storms with howling winds and driving rain. The toxic person is the storm. They can lash against the mountain, but they cannot move the mountain. Stoic practice is about becoming that mountain, unshaken and enduring. And let's be clear, this isn't about becoming a robot or pretending you don't have feelings. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were emotionally disciplined. They knew that our feelings don't come directly from events, but from our judgments about those events. As Epictetus taught, people are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. If someone insults you, the words themselves have no power. The sting comes from your judgment that the insult is a terrible thing that reduces your worth. Emotional resilience is the practice of hitting the pause button between the trigger, the toxic behavior, and your response. In that pause, you have a choice. You can react impulsively with hurt or anger, giving them exactly what they want. Or you can choose a calm, rational response. Imagine a friend who is constantly unreliable, cancelling plans at the last minute with a flimsy excuse. The impulsive reaction? A furious text, a dramatic confrontation, or holding a grudge that just poisons your own mind. The Stoic, on the other hand, would feel that initial flash of disappointment. They'd acknowledge it. But then, they'd pause. They would analyze it. My friend's unreliability is their action, not mine. It reflects on their character, not my value. My inner peace is more important than this. Getting angry will only disrupt my own calm, and it won't solve anything. From that place of calm, the response becomes strategic, not reactive. Maybe you send a simple, unemotional text. Okay, thanks for the heads up. Hope everything's all right. Internally, you use this as data. You adjust your expressions for this person. You decide not to make plans that depend solely on them again. You're not fighting them. You're adapting to the reality of who they are, all while guarding your emotional state. Every interaction becomes a training opportunity. It's a chance to practice your pause and reinforce your identity as the unshakable mountain, not the fleeting storm. Limit access to your life, the art of the downgrade. The Stoics were realists. They knew that while we should be just and fair to everyone, not everyone deserves a front-row seat in our lives. Your time, attention, and emotional energy are your most precious resources. A huge part of letting go of toxic people is making conscious decisions about who gets access to them. This is the Stoic art of the downgrade. The philosopher Seneca talked a lot about how we invest our time, saying, "Life is long if you know how to use it." He warned that we give it away carelessly to people and activities that don't make us better. A toxic person is a black hole for your time and energy. They demand attention, create drama, and leave you drained, with less to give to the people and things that truly matter. The downgrade isn't always a dramatic, "I'm cutting you out of my life" moment, though sometimes it has to be. More often, it's a quiet, strategic recategorization of their role in your life. It's moving them from your inner circle to a more distant orbit, like acquaintance or person I'm civil to at family holidays. Think about a friend who is always negative. Every chat is a long list of complaints, criticisms, and gossip. You feel heavier after every single interaction. You've tried to be supportive, but you realize they don't want solutions. They just want to pull you into their misery. The art of the downgrade means you stop treating this person as a close confidant. You stop sharing your vulnerabilities and your dreams with them because you know that information will just be met with negativity. You stop initiating contact. You're still polite when you see them, but you create distance. You keep conversations short. You become less available. You stop investing your prime emotional real estate in a property that's falling apart. This can be tough, especially if the person is a family member or an old friend. Guilt is a real feeling, but Stoicism calls us to prioritize our primary duty, caring for our own soul. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to expect to meet difficult people each day, but this wasn't an instruction to suffer them endlessly. It was a reminder to not be surprised by their nature and to protect his own peace from it. By limiting access, you aren't being cruel. You're being a wise guardian of your own life. Forgive, but don't forget. A gift to yourself. Let's talk about forgiveness, because it's one of the most misunderstood ideas when dealing with toxic people. It's often confused with condoning their behavior, pretending it never happened, or worst of all, giving them a fresh chance to hurt you again. The Stoic view of forgiveness is way more practical and self-focused. It's not a gift for the person who hurt you, it's a gift you give to yourself. Holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The only one who suffers is you. It chains you to the past and lets the person who hurt you live in your head, rent-free. To forgive, from a Stoic view, is a rational choice to free yourself from that burden. It's you declaring, "I will no longer allow my peace of mind to be held hostage by what you did." However, and this is the critical part, forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Forgetting the lessons you learned from a painful experience isn't wise, it's reckless. The memory of what happened, once you strip away the emotional charge, becomes a valuable tool. It's a scar, not an open wound. The scar reminds you of what you went through and, more importantly, what you learned about their character and your own boundaries. Imagine you were betrayed by a business partner. Holding on to rage might feel justified, but it just eats up your energy. The Stoic path is to forgive for your own sake, to let go of that corrosive anger, so you can reclaim your mental peace and focus on rebuilding. But you don't forget the lesson. Now you know to be more careful when choosing partners. You know to put better safeguards in place. You know how to spot the red flags you missed before. The memory, stripped of its toxic emotional power, has been turned into wisdom. Marcus Aurelius encouraged seeing wrongdoers as people who simply can't tell good from evil. This mindset helps with forgiveness. It doesn't excuse what they did, but it depersonalizes it, making it easier to let go of the anger. You can have a kind of empathy for their flawed nature, while simultaneously refusing to let that nature harm you ever again. So, forgive to free yourself, but don't forget, because those lessons are the shield you carry into the future. Cultivate mindfulness and self-reflection, the inner dialogue. The Stoic life is an examined life. This isn't just a set of rules, it's a daily practice of becoming more self-aware. Two of the most powerful tools for this are mindfulness and self-reflection, often through journaling. In the fight to free yourself from toxic people, these tools are your secret weapons. They help you diagnose the poison and track your own healing. Mindfulness, for the Stoics, was a state of active attention. It's the practice of observing your thoughts and feelings without immediately getting swept away by them. When you're tangled up with a toxic person, your mind can feel like a hurricane of reactive thoughts. "She's trying to make me feel small," or "I can't believe he said that." These thoughts trigger pain and lock you in a cycle of suffering. Mindfulness lets you take a step back and watch those thoughts like clouds passing in the sky. You notice the thought, "He's trying to make me feel small." Instead of instantly feeling that pain, you can look at it with curiosity. Okay, there's that thought again. Is this thought helping me? Is it based on something I can control? What would be a wise and virtuous response right now? This practice starves the toxic dynamic of its favorite fuel, your unexamined emotional reaction. Journaling is the other half of this practice. The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius was basically his own private journal. It was where he checked in with himself and reinforced his principles. You can do the same. At the end of the day, ask yourself a few simple questions. Where did I lose my peace of mind today? What was the specific trigger? What was my first automatic judgment about it? Did I act based on my values, or did I just react emotionally? What could I do differently next time to protect my calm? This isn't about beating yourself up. It's an honest check-in designed for growth. By writing it down, you make your mental patterns visible. You might notice that one person's backhanded compliments always send you into a spiral of self-doubt. Once you see that pattern on the page, you can create a Stoic game plan for the next time it happens. You become a student of your own psychology, and you learn not to take the bait. Choose your company wisely, the garden of your character. A core Stoic idea is that we are deeply influenced by the people we spend our time with. Your character isn't built in a vacuum. It's more like a garden, and the company you keep is the soil, water, and sun. If you surround yourself with weeds, your own growth is going to be choked. Seneca was very clear about this. He said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. This isn't about being a snob. It's about being a wise gardener of your own character. It's recognizing that relationships should be about mutual growth, not mutual misery. Toxic people are the ultimate weeds. They sow seeds of negativity and doubt. They drain the nutrients from the soil and block the sun. Spending a lot of time with them makes it incredibly hard to practice Stoic virtues like wisdom and courage. How can you be calm when you're constantly being provoked? How can you be wise when your mind is full of their drama? So, choosing your company wisely is an active strategy for self-improvement. It means doing an honest audit of the people in your life and asking one simple question: does spending time with this person make me a better version of myself? If the answer is a consistent no, Stoicism gives you the permission and the reason to create distance. This is more than just avoiding harm. It's about actively seeking good. It's about deliberately investing your limited social energy in relationships that feed your soul. Think of it like a diet for your mind. Constantly consuming junk food makes your body unhealthy. Constantly consuming toxic conversations and negativity will damage your mind and character. The Stoic choice is to seek out nutritious company, people who are honest, kind, and challenge you to grow. This might mean making hard choices, like spending less time with a lifelong friend who has become hopelessly cynical. But on the other side of those choices is a huge sense of relief. When you start filling your life with people who inspire you, the space the toxic person once took up just shrinks away. Their absence becomes a welcome clearing, and all the energy you were using to manage their negativity is now free for your own growth. The Stoic art of acceptance. There comes a point with some people where you've set boundaries, you've practiced resilience, and yet the toxicity remains. This is often true with family members or in situations you can't just walk away from. For this, Stoicism offers its most profound teaching, the art of acceptance. This doesn't mean you should passively accept abuse. The Stoics were not doormats. Instead, this is about accepting the reality of a situation exactly as it is, without wasting a single drop of energy wishing it were different. It's looking at an unchangeable fact and saying, "This is what is." So, how can I use this to practice virtue? Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. If a toxic person is an unavoidable obstacle in your life, an aging parent, a co-parent, a boss you can't leave just yet, their toxicity becomes the impediment. Your challenge is to transform that obstacle into the very path of your practice. Their negativity becomes your training ground for patience. Their irrationality becomes your training ground for reason. Their attempts to provoke you become your training ground for calm. You stop seeing them as just a source of misery and start seeing them as your personal Stoic gym, a place to strengthen your character. This mindset shift is incredibly powerful. It takes the very thing meant to harm you and repurposes it as a tool for your own good. The toxic person loses their power because you're no longer fighting the reality of who they are. You accept them as a fixed feature of your landscape, like a difficult mountain on your path, and you focus entirely on navigating it with skill and grace. And finally, this acceptance also gives you the clarity to know when the only virtuous path left is to walk away completely. When a relationship is so damaging that it prevents you from living a good life, letting go isn't failure. It is the ultimate act of acceptance, accepting that the connection itself is incompatible with your peace and well-being. Conclusion. The path of Stoicism isn't always easy, but it is a path to freedom. It gives us a timeless blueprint for building an unshakable inner fortress against the negativity that can so easily poison our lives. From understanding what's truly ours to control, to setting firm boundaries, and choosing our company wisely, these 8 principles are not just ideas, they are practical tools for transformation. They teach us that while we can't change the toxic people in our world, we have absolute power to change their effect on us. We can choose peace over drama, reason over reactivity, and growth over grievance. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 8 Stoic principles resonates with you the most right now? Is there one strategy you feel could make a real difference in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if you found this valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more on using ancient wisdom for a better modern life. Remember, your inner peace is your most valuable possession. Protect it with the discipline of a Stoic. Thank you for watching.